So here we've got a brand new set of Bataleon Blaster Asymwrap bindings. About to set this up on my brand new party wave. The Asymwrap is referring to this part here. See, there's no piece connecting the binding body to the base, so should be interesting, something new. First thing I noticed when I grabbed these out of the box is the heel cup. It feels really nice. It's probably the first binding I've used that has a metal heel cup. I'm used to Burton's, and they're plastic and they seem fine, but they're always really squeaky. So it'd be kind of cool if these bindings were less squeaky. Bataleon provides a bunch of extra straps and hardware, just in case something gets bunged up along the way. Looking pretty nasty if I do say so myself. One thing to keep in mind with these guys is they mark on the bottom if it's left or right. I actually almost had them set up backwards to begin with because it felt natural for me. But I guess with these bindings, the straps are on the inside rather than the outside. So keep that in mind. So the main reason I got this board was I've been riding for a long time and I wanted just something with a totally different shape. I really like wider boards, and it's kind of hard to find wider boards. I have a size 10.5 feet, which is just barely starts to warrant using a wider board, and so I want to try this. Just all the reviews I read, everything made it sound super fun, but the one thing that kind of put me off was this tail here, this swallow style tail. And I like to ride switch a lot. My style of riding is like popping 180s here and there. My goal is that if I'm riding with someone, for them not to really be able to tell what my stance is. They probably can tell, but that's the goal anyway, to keep improving my switch riding and just being able to pop in and out of any obstacle and be comfortable riding wherever I am going switch if I end up getting turned around switch by accident or whatever. So I was watching Gimbal God try this board out, and he had pointed out that on the back foot he doesn't use the reference. He moves it up one bolt, so basically as far as up it'll go on the back binding, and then the front binding I'm going to put at reference. I'm at 12-degree angles on both these. See that little nugget there? Right before the 15, I'm on the 12. Every dot is the 3-degree increment. So it seems to me, if you ride like this, you can still have enough area here that you can ride switch without it being super weird. That's what I've heard, so we'll see how it goes when I actually get. This is a pretty wide board, 28 centimeters. Most boards that I ride would be maybe 26 centimeters, so that's 3/4 of an inch wider. You can see there's tons of room left on the board on the front and the back, although pretty soon here I'm going to adjust these to match my boot correctly. But one thing about the stance there is, general rule of thumb is your forearm length between the bindings, which it looks like I've got here. So that's nice, it's good for me. So I'm very happy with moving it in like that, like I was mentioning. You can see here from center of binding to center of binding, about 21 inches. Pretty much what I aim for, 21.5. I'm 5'11", 170 pounds, 165 pounds. There's charts you can look up online, but feel for yourself. It's always worth switching your bindings up, seeing if you like wider or more narrow. I used to ride more wide. I thought that was what I'd prefer. I don't know, just based on some of my favorite riders, looking at their stances, and over the years started to narrow it. I actually find that I have more stability and easier to land, and also I can charge harder through bumps and stuff like that. So I've been experimenting with narrowing my stance a bit. The shape of this board, it's a little deceptive, but I have about 8 inches from this point I'm measuring to where the board starts to lift up on the tail the contact point basically. And then I have about the same here, 8 inches. So it seems to me it should be just fine for riding switch. Bit of a psychological thing with that weird looking tail, but should work out. Here's a closer look at that Asymwrap on these bindings. There's the piece that connects the back to the front, just on the inside. When I originally bought these, I had assumed that the part missing was going to be on the inside, not the outside. So should be interesting to try these out. I didn't realize how dramatic it was from what I was reading and looking online, as far as this Asymwrap style having this one part open that's on the outside. That's gonna feel really weird not having that support beside my boot. They say it's for a more flexible style, more loose style. Looks like it's gonna be loose. Looks like it's gonna be loose as fuck. The high back, pretty stiff when you push back. Has a lot of twist this way. Real easy to twist that way, but when you're riding, you're not really twisting that way. These bindings are rated 6 out of 10 for flex. The Blaster's a 7 if you get it with the full wrap. Not gonna lie, I'm getting kind of hard right now looking at this setup. Quite sexy. You can adjust the footbed forward and back. By basically pulling on it. So you can see here that my heel pretty much in line with the edge of the board and the toes hanging over quite a bit. Bataleon has a video on their YouTube channel about changing the size of the binding, so I'm gonna have to do that next to center the boot correctly over the board, because this is a little goofy. So I'm gonna check that out and see how it looks after. All right, so I got that size adjustment done on the left binding here, on my back binding. You can see now the toe isn't hanging over quite as intensely as it was, and the heel looks like it's over the back as much as the toes over the front. So I would say the boot is fairly well centered. I can play with that as the season goes on. To do that was basically just flipping this up. This piece just slides out. You can see it's got these nubbins correspond with these nubbins, and that allows you to move the footbed in and out a bit. So it's just a matter of loosening the base plate screws first, and then this screw here, and don't undo them entirely, just loosen them a bit. Loosen this one, and this screw, and this screw, and then kind of tug on the high back, and the whole bit can move forward or back depending on how you want to center yourself. I don't even have that big of a boot, only a 10.5, and this is a large XL binding, and I had to expand mine a bit, so make it bigger. So it's kind of interesting, but I expected I would land right in the middle. Since I put my bindings at +12, -12 angles, you can see that the high back here is on an angle relative to the board edge. So I'm going to use this screw and that screw to adjust it and twist it and make it even with the board. In my experience, that really helps a lot with ability to quickly change your edges and just have less fatigue throughout the day. One other adjustment I want to make here is the high back forward lean. Comes with no lean. I'm going to hit it with a little bit of forward lean here. Let's try out about halfway. That still looks pretty mellow. I think I'll give it some more. No, all the way is too much, too aggressive. About 3/4 of the way. Yeah, I'm gonna start with that. I like that. That's with a little bit of forward lean. This is back to no forward lean, but I like it kind of here, I think. Try that out. Nice and dirty. So a couple other things worth pointing out here. Pretty easy to adjust the straps here as far as how they fit over your boot. I already test fit my boot and I had to change this a little bit. Bataleon also has what they call the kink ladder, which is the way this is sort of got an angle to it. So it comes by default pretty low down on your ankle. If you wanted it higher up, that's your style. You basically take this one from one binding and swap it over to the other binding, which would make it have a relatively different position. And apparently you can also switch these out as well to achieve that. So first thoughts for me on these bindings compared to the Burtons I've owned in the past. They seem pretty good. Not phenomenal quality as far as the material is concerned. Seems nice, high quality. Not amazing though. This footbed seems like pretty lame plastic or rubber or whatever that material is, like lame foam. Doesn't really feel super high quality. We'll see how long it lasts. Kind of like this little rubber bit in here for the heel hold. I know some bindings other companies make have that as well. Definitely seems to grip the toe quite well, and it seems nice and flexible. Nothing incredible for the price, but not bad either. Mostly just went with these to keep one setup all the same brand, try something different. Let's hop on here and see how it feels. After trying these on and playing around a bit, I actually like them more than I thought I would when I first opened up the box. The footbed seems like kind of a super cheap plastic foamy thing, but it's after taking it on and off a few times to make adjustments, I think it'll last a long time, and it has an interesting feel to it. The ladders all seem to go in and out pretty nice. The first few times kind of felt weird, but I think that'll change. Towards the end it was already feeling better. I think they'll last a long time. They have a nice flex. They don't feel like that kind of plastic that's just going to break down quickly. Yeah, everything seems pretty high quality. Really happy with it. Looking forward to trying out this season. So if you've never tried out Bataleon bindings before, give them a go. Pretty sure they're made in the same factory as Rome. They seem to share a lot of the characteristics of Rome bindings. So, you know, if you've had Rome bindings before, I guess there's no point in trying them out. But for me, coming from Burton stuff, definitely looking forward to the upcoming season. These are large XL. I have 10.5 boots, and I did play around with the adjustments a bunch, but basically they didn't really need to be adjusted too much. They're pretty much perfect for that size of boot. So they say they can go all the way up to a size 14. That would definitely be maxing it out. I feel like you could probably fit a 10, but yeah, 10.5 is pretty good for this. Wouldn't want to go much lower than that. You definitely want to go to a medium large binding if you're less than a 10.5 size foot. But I find for 10.5, it's like some mediums are basically too small, so I usually size up to the size large or large XL bindings. All right, thanks for watching.